City Talks with REUBEN ABATI.
On this show, we discuss stories of political and human interests that affect us as Nigerians, and also as members of a global human community. Today, again, we'll be discussing the 2023 general elections and other matters arising. And our guest, it's really a great pleasure to introduce our guest on this program today. He is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. His name is Prince Adewole Adebayo. Prince Adewole Adebayo was nurtured in Ondo Kingdom, Ondo State, and he has devoted his adult life to making life better for all. He was born on the 8th of January 1972. After completing his primary school in Ondo State, he also attended St. Joseph College, Ondo, and further attended the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, where he graduated with honors in law. In Obafemi Awolowo University, he not only ran a successful law program, he was also very active in student unionism. He was called to the Nigerian bar in the year 2020 after completing and passing his bar exams at the Nigerian Law School. In 2002, shortly after his return to Lagos, following his National Youth Service Corps service in Kogi State, he joined the law chambers of Dr. Tunji Abayomi, where he quickly rose through the ranks. He later acquired a Master's of Law degree at the University of Jos. He participated in the activities of the Nigerian Labour Congress as a comrade, and he made friends across Nigeria who admire him for his strength of character, integrity, and zeal. Prince Adebayo later left the law firm of Tunji Abayomi & Co. for Abuja, where he established his own law firm, Adewole, Adebayo & Co. House of Law. He is also licensed in California, New York, and courts of the United States. He has substantial law practice experience in the United Kingdom, in Europe, and Australia, and is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration, Nigeria. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. And also leave comments on WhatsApp on 090 99164403 and on our social media accounts at CT1051 on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you very much for joining us, Prince Adewole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party. I know you are in Washington, D.C., but we can hear you loud and clear here in our studio in Lagos. Yes. Well, just before we discuss politics, I mean, in the last 48 hours, the world has witnessed the departure of three major icons in different fields. Pelé, who died at age 82, known as Exin Arantes do Nascimento. He was born on October 23, 1940. And he got his name Pelé, his nickname, because he mispronounced another player's name. But what is more important about him is that he's considered Orey, the king of football, a man gifted with divine genius, the only man in history to have won the World Cup 3 times, 1958, 1962, 1970. A man before whom there was football, but he redefined it. He put Brazilian football on the map, and it became a source of inspiration for generations, over the years, including the younger generation like Kylian Mbappe, who has paid tribute to him, and also all the other players, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Diego Maradona, who also was distinguished. Everyone traced their inspiration to Pelé. We also lost in the last 48 hours Pope Benedict XVI, the only pope to have resigned after about 600 years, after Pope Gregory the 12th, who was the Pope that resigned in 1415. And Pope Benedict XVI, as he was known, served for just about 8 years, and then he has died now within 9 years after his resignation. He was a man who was an academic theologian. He courted a number of controversies because he was a strict advocate of orthodoxy and continuity. And then, of course, we also lost Barbara Walters at 93. Barbara Walters, the first female American anchor of a network news program, who blazed the trail for women in a male-dominated medium. And it was distinguished for her practice of journalism, either at the NBC, where she started, or the ABC, where she was part of that pioneering team on The View. I'm sure you know all these three persons. May their souls rest in perfect peace. I would like us to start the program with this major loss of three prominent icons by the world, and I'd like to take your comments on them.
Let me start with the youth, among them the youngest. That's Pele. Pele died at 82. Barbara Walters, 93, and the Holy Father, Pope Benedict XVI, Reisinger, died at 95. So there is a connection to all of this in the sense that they are in different fields, but each of them impacted on humanity. Pele is noted for his football, but it wasn't the football that alone that endeared him to the world. He's one of the few icons who have gone around every country. You will see pictures of him even playing with better insurance of those days, also coming to play with the Green Eagles, as they were known at that time. So Pele was an inspiration of what a young black boy from Brazil could dazzle the world and become a global icon. So the same thing with Barbara Walters. Walters, her Jewish background made her a minority, born in Boston, Massachusetts. And at that time, women were not many on television. And she became a face of what a woman could do if given an opportunity. And is one of the few has interviewed every US president from Richard Nixon to Barack Obama. She didn't have a good time with President Trump, but she had interviewed Trump and also Biden when they were vice president, or when he was the vice president. So I think the three of them dying now, they died of advanced old age. In the case of Pele, he made an ethical choice to ease his own pain and end his life on his own terms. And the Pope also is a man of character. You would say that he resigned. He also took a health decision, and when he thought that his mind could not cope with the work due to advanced old age and some challenges. I was at an airport when he was elected the Pope, and I was also at an airport when he died. So there's something about me. God is telling me to go and sit down in one place because I'm going all over the place. But I think that the world can draw lessons from all of this, which is that time passes. However great you are, just need to make your mark and go. And for me, Pele made his mark when he was 17. It shows that you're never too young to make your mark in the world. And it doesn't matter. At that time, nobody thought that football, kicking the ball around, will make an impact in the world. There are many things going on in the world at that time, but anything you are doing in your own corner can make an impact in the world. And the Pope Benedict was elected when he was already old. He was known as the Rottweiler of Christ. He was a very tough cardinal, but he was elected. So here you have Pele achieving iconic status at 17. And then Pope Benedict in his 80s. Shows that it's never too late and never too early. And each one became an icon by sticking to what they were doing. One was a monk. You would think, who would remember a monk? A one corner. There are many monks in the world, but he made his mark. And I think generally the principles and issues for which Barbara Waters stood in journalism, the idea that an enlightened society is important for democracy and that leaders must be held to account. And he had very vital interviews with each of the president and leaders and world leaders. And he was also an intergenerational person. You will see, if you look at The View, the program that was her swan song, you will see sometimes almost like 70-year difference between one anchor and the next. And she was able to lead them. And she led a pack of both left-leaning media personality and right-leaning ones, including Ms. McCain. And she was able to hold them together. And I think that transitional and transcendental role she played is an opportunity for others to actually say that there is the field for leadership in the world is wide open. There is no narrow way to become a leader. And the world will miss them, as we have missed many who came before them. But the lessons for us is that we need to get things right and we need to make our mark. Life is borrowed. It's part of my Christmas message in Ondo City when I had a Christmas carol, so that everything given to us, including our life, is a trust. It doesn't belong to us, and we should use it like a trust. And that's my attitude.
Well, Prince Adebayo, I mean, you just mentioned the word leadership. You are the presidential candidate, let's talk politics now, of the Social Democratic Party in the forthcoming 2023 general elections in Nigeria. Why will anybody want to be president of Nigeria? The country is heavily in debt. The ways and means debt is over 24 trillion. The 2023 budget that has been declared, debt service to revenue ratio is about 86%. Inflation is 21.47%. Unemployment is 33%. And, I mean, that inflation is even higher in some states. So why will anybody say, I want to lead Nigeria? Why are you interested? Why are you looking for to inherit problems?
Well, you have to have the attitude of a firefighter. It's just asking a firefighter, why are you running towards the fire? That's his job. That's his calling. These problems look to us like opportunity to serve. You only serve, for me, if we didn't have this problem, I would just be enjoying my life. I don't need to come and reign. If I want to reign, I will wait and take my time. Maybe if God says I should be the traditional ruler in my place, I will do that. But it's about public service. In fact, these figures, if I was in doubt as to why I'm here, this has clarified it for me further. Our people need help. And these problems are only overwhelming those who are there now. They are not supposed to overwhelm Nigeria. Our revenue to debt ratio is scary because our revenue has been stunted and diverted. So ideally, 21 trillion naira budget, given the value of the naira now, is a budget of poverty. Because for a country like Nigeria to be able to surpass Johannesburg in terms of power generation, we will need at least 1/4 of that budget. So we have a problem of leadership kind of serving us short. So it is not that the wealth of the country cannot support a robust economy, cannot sustain a budget of a better profile than we have. Is that we are limited by the imagination, more like lack of imagination of the leadership. And that's why people like us need to come out. Otherwise, the next year's budget will be worse than this, and the one after will be further worse. So we need to do what we are doing now. I'm not frightened by the problem at all. I can take them piece by piece and let us know how easy the solutions are. The solutions are in our hand, but we just have to make sure that we have a leadership that is confronting these issues. Many people you find in authority are there not focusing on these problems. They see these problems as one of those inconveniences they have to deal with. But that's not the reason why they are there. They are there for the power, for the glory, and for the money. And I think we need to make a change and send people to the presidency and to other offices who actually are going there well aware of these problems. You will never find me coming there and saying, oh, I didn't know. I knew these problems are there. I know. I knew they were there when I came out. And I know they are there now. And I have solutions to them. So as the program goes on, if you ask me specifically, and I will show to you that these problems should not frighten us at all if we have a good leadership.
Okay, it's good to put your finger on the issue of revenue. President Muhammadu Buhari himself, when he was laying the budget for 2023 before the National Assembly, said Nigeria's problem is revenue. The World Bank, IMF, have both complained about how crude oil theft has been robbing Nigeria of revenue, how the subsidy regime has been robbing Nigeria of revenue. The Minister of Finance even said if we keep the subsidy regime beyond June next year, Nigeria will not even be able to execute any capital project. Now I ask you, other presidential candidates have been talking about restructuring. Some have said, oh, they will remove subsidy as soon as they leave, they get into office if they win, and nobody can do anything about that. What do you intend to do about Nigeria's revenue problem? Some other candidates have said they will increase tax. How will you address that revenue problem to create wealth and prosperity for the majority of Nigerians?
There are two things about revenue, but the easiest way is to say the truth and to show accountability. One, you can increase the ratio of revenue, you can increase taxation, but in reality, what you need to do is collect the one that is legally due now. I'm not going to increase taxes at all. I was making all this noise about crude oil being stolen. I talked about it. IMF is talking about it. World Bank, people are now listening. But when I was talking about it, it was like a one man talking about it. And I've been to the places where they steal this crude. With my simple naked eyes, even without my glasses, I can see them stealing the crude. So it's nothing difficult for a government to stop. It's something you can stop in 1 week if you want to stop it. But it's not been stopped. So if you stop that, revenue will increase. Even when we are talking about it now, the more feasible part of it, they've reduced those ones, and revenue has improved slightly because of that. But the policy is to put an end to it. Second is the issue of subsidy. There's a film trick there, which we have to look at very well. One, there are three issues implicated there. One is, what is our self-sufficiency in the supply of petroleum products, especially PMS, kerosene, and diesel that we are using? We're using some other ones before, but fuel oil and all of that, but our industrial output has reduced, so we're not crying about those ones. Now, we have the capacity to do that because apart from our legacy refinery, there are commercial refineries now coming up, and there's also a capacity to, within 2 years, allow modular refineries that are monoproducts to come out. So we can actually solve that problem and elicit public participation in that area, in the area of supply guarantee or price mechanism. We can do that. That's a policy. Second is the issue of management of the subsidy itself, where it is a welfare package for people who have access to the villa, where fictional amount of money or fictional amount of supplies are being paid for. Lamido Sanusi, when was CBN governor, raised that issue. Many people have raised that issue. I don't want to over-litigate it in this short time, but a government that is determined to put an end to that will put an end to that. So the last thing is about the pricing. And that's where they want to now frighten the public, where they will say, well, because we are reducing our investment or wastage of our money in subsidy, automatically it means that petrol will sell for 300. The issue of landing costs. That is where I have a problem. I have a problem with that, because if you don't deal with that aspect, you will end up creating a gorging where people now will be collecting the last income of Nigerians from them because you try to support a minimum price. They did the same thing in some other commodities. Ministry of Trade is guilty of that. They did it in such a way that now the price of cement is going up, sugar is going up, other commodities is going up, and they want to add price of petrol to that. I think that approach is not good enough. So my approach will be different in that respect. Then on the issue of revenue, I have one of my companies that made zero profit because it was still in our incubation stage. And Inland Revenue sent me a bill yesterday of 63 million to be paid. So I looked at it. This is a very silly way to do accounting because you need to check the annual return of the company to see their income and expenditure and to see whether they have profit at all. And then the portion of that profit is what you charge. So this irrationality where tax officers frighten taxpayers with unbelievable tax bills, in the end, they collect bribe and reduce it to something, and there are a lot of revenue doesn't get into the government coffers. So I will streamline in the way in which we collect our revenue to see that as you are filing your paper in the company house, which is called CAC, you are able to easily pay your taxes without a problem. So I think that other revenues, from for example, solid minerals, have raised an issue. The amount of lithium, other minerals, solid minerals being stolen out of Nigeria, gold in Osun, and Kebbi and Zamfara and Niger State. The amount of feasible theft of other minerals openly across Nigeria with mobile policemen guarding some Asian-looking people who are taking all of these things, traditional rulers joining them. In Nasarawa State, a lot of minerals have been stolen out of that state. That alone is enough to fund the economy of Nigeria. So those are the areas we have to govern and husband our resources. There's no alternative to it. But Nigeria is being looted right, left, and center now. And that is why I'm not worried about the revenue component of it. I'm worried about the fact that the government is not governing well. And the first duty of government is security, both life and property. And out of that property, you are able to now generate revenue. But we have a lot of ungoverned spaces all over Nigeria where people come, take materials and walk away. I can give you a personal example. I can give you research-based examples. And so that is why I'm saying the people who are there now are the problem. The problem is not the lack of revenue or the country cannot sustain the revenue. Many countries that have revenue problem is because they've done all that they needed to do, but they cannot sustain it. In our own case, we are collecting less than 7% of what we're supposed to collect, and we're raising false alarm about revenue crunch. I don't think so. I think we should do better than that.
Okay, you are a legal practitioner in two different jurisdictions, Nigeria and the United States. So you are an officer in the Temple of Justice. But Nigeria faces serious crisis with regard to the rule of law. You have Nigerian law enforcement agencies routinely breaking the law. Only last week we were talking about, or rather a few days ago, how a lawyer in Lagos was gunned down, Bolanle Rahim, at the Aja area of Lagos by a policeman from Adewole police station. Before then, on December 7th, a gentleman called Gafaru Brahima was gunned down, also by a policeman from this same Adewole police station. In Edo State, one God-sent Obafonso was also gunned down by trigger-happy policemen. You just have this policeman just killing people anyhow, despite the fact that there was NSAS protest in 2020 against police brutality. What will you do to ensure the supremacy of the rule of law and decency in terms of law enforcement that will respect the rights of individuals?
First is for the government. First, I mourn the death of these innocent people who have been gunned down. I sympathize with the families, and I believe justice must be done, not just justice in terms of just address this one alone. Justice must be done because these deaths are too many, and just substantial justice must be done. The families must be compensated immediately. Criminal proceeding that's taking place must be swift and end within months. And then, in the long run, we must reform the government, because the police is part of the government. The government itself, the language is foul. The government itself is not civil. So we need to put a civil government. That's why I call it civilian government. The government is not civil. And the Attorney General has to ensure that law and order is respected. And this is an attitude. What I would do in our time as in office is as follows. One, we will reform the police comprehensively and let the police be under the Ministry of Justice. Let them know that justice is what they're about. I will ensure that the Attorney General is actually not the government lawyer, but the lawyer of the people of Nigeria. Three, we would show example in the government being civil by itself, not exercising power anyhow, that the government itself is under the rule of law. And I think the problem, as I've said many times, in Nigeria is that the police is not, we call it the police, but Nigeria police is not behaving like police. It's not about law enforcement. They are behaving like an occupation force that is helping the government to clear the way and see the people as a nuisance. So as a result, even the psychology of the average policeman is not about enforcing the law. And nobody is above this police brutality. I recently had police trying to intervene because I have one land somewhere where my neighbor had a dispute with the land and the matter is in court. And the police took it upon themselves to be jumping all over the place. So it can happen to anybody, high or low. There's nobody who drives on the street. You either have police becoming a jester and saluting you and praying for you and try to get money out of you by trick or some comedy if they know they can't harass you, or they flip and start harassing you. So we need to address the police. And I've given the background, we don't have enough time. The military killed the police and the civilian killed both the military and the police. So what we need to do is to make sure that the best of the best enter the police. A serious leadership change needs to be made in the police. And the rule of law has to be so institutionalized that it doesn't depend on the government anymore, that the government itself is under the rule of law. So those are the measures I'm going to take. And we also need to let the police come from the community. I've always believed that every level, look at the quandary that Governor Sanwo-Olu finds himself now. The policeman who accosted the deceased, innocent person, was ostensibly enforcing Lagos state law. He was on the territory of Lagos state. And by committing murder, contrary to the law of Lagos state, the governor of Lagos could only fly to Abuja to talk to the IG of police. That is incongruous. So in our time, we will make changes to all of that. Because, the offense was committed in Lagos, the officer was working in Lagos, the law that is being violated, in fact, the law that was being enforced was the Lagos state law. The law that was violated with the death of the kid, unlawful killing, is also Lagos state law. And the court that has jurisdiction over the matter is Lagos State High Court. The prosecutor is supposed to come from Lagos State, and then what is Sanwo-Olu having to go to Abuja for? Those are the anomalies that we will address so that the community sense of justice can come to fore. Those are the things we can do. It's a systemic thing, but you must invest in the police, you must reorientate the police, and the police must stop belonging to the government. Nigeria is probably one of the few countries that is supposed to be a free country where the police belongs to the government. Ideally, the police belong to the people. And that is what we need to create. Until we create that, we'll have all of that. And it's not only the police that are killing. Soldiers are killing too. Air Force kills. So if you have communities where we have our naval rating, they do killings too. And then vigilantes kill too. And even some of the other groups set up by different communities and state government, they've started having their own killing as well. And neighbors kill neighbors. All sorts of things. Students lynch their fellow students because of what they consider to be blasphemy and all of that. I was in Adamawa, I went to Genye, and I saw a family that was the remnant of a family that was wiped out in Anambra State because some unknown gunman or somebody went and killed them. So it doesn't matter who does the killing. There's too much killing in Nigeria, and we need to bring to bear a government that can restore the psychiatry and the psychology of the people to a point where we have a civilian society. And in America, where I lived for many years, there are parts too that has this kind of problem, that the police just kills people anyhow. And it's the same lesson that when you create a very tense environment where the government is careless about the psychology of policing, where the community is not making sufficient investment in making sure that everyone has a rational mind, I think this will continue. And you can see with the NSAS and all the troubles that went with it, one would have thought that at every level of government that would have learned our lesson. I listened to the police spokesperson yesterday talking to on another program. It didn't look to me like he understood the issue. And I think that just listening to him, if you review his interview with the media person, you will know that this is a cultural disease that we need to get rid of.
Well, Prince Adebayo, are you by implication saying you support the idea of state police?
I have supported the idea for a long time. I support the idea of local government policing as well. I have always said that any level of government that has a law-making power should have a law enforcing power. It makes no sense for Oshodi Solo local government, or Agege local government, or Abuja municipal local government, or Kano Nasarawa local government to have a body that makes laws regarding sanitation in the market, regarding refuse clearing, regarding parking, and they don't have some police whose job is limited to enforcing those ordinances. Well, then you have a collapsed local government. The same thing with the state government. Most criminal offenses, murder, arson, theft, rape, all these serious offenses that carry life imprisonment, that carry capital punishment, are state laws. So how can you make laws in a state and the state has no power to enforce it? It's not about a complicated issue about federalism. Even if you have a unitary system, whatever system you have, you will still need to ensure that a government is not a caricature. When you set up a government that has a legislative arm, that legislative arm must be capable of setting up a law enforcement mechanism. Otherwise, it will be a lawless place. And that's why the IG, I don't know how the IG police manages to sleep. Somebody is missing goat in Abeokuta, who will find his way to the IG stable. So if you are fighting over a land in Jebu-Igbo, if you have lawyers who know how to write petition, the matter of the land in Jebu-Igbo will end up on the table of the IG in Abuja. That is not sustainable.
Okay, on that note, Prince Adewole Adebayo, presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Nigeria's 2023 general elections. We'll need to take a short break now, but please stay with us because when we return, I still have 2-3 questions for you, but others will also join us. We'll throw our lines open here in the studio. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. You can also leave comments on WhatsApp on 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll take that short break now and we'll be right back.
City Talks with REUBEN ABATI.
Welcome back from that commercial break. And for those of you just tuning in, welcome to City Talks with REUBEN ABATI on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. And I remain your host, REUBEN ABATI, and we've been discussing the 2023 general elections and other matters arising. And with me today, I have the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. His name is Prince Adewole Adebayo. Remember, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051. And also leave comments on WhatsApp on 09099164403. And on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Prince Adebayo, thank you very much for staying with us. We're already on WhatsApp. I have 1 or 2 or 3 reactions. This is from Dr. Abiodun Adeni. He says, great ideas as usual. But how will you assess your chances when all polls thus far have failed to mention you or your party as a front runner? And to add to that, somebody had also asked me, he said, look, the SDP appears to be obscure. And that is surprising because this was the party of MKO Abiola in the 1993 general elections. But now you have a situation whereby this same Social Democratic Party, the son of the legend MKO Abiola, is not even part of the party. He is the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, PRP. So how do you deal with this challenge? The polls are not mentioning you, and people don't even remember that this is the party of Chief MKO Abiola.
Okay, let me start with number 1. I can do a poll that doesn't mention anyone I want to exclude. Recently we've circulated the methodology they use, and I can send it to you now. You can play it for people to hear. People who conduct these polls don't ask open questions. They ask questions like, between party A, party B, party C, whom are you going to vote for? We have them on tape. I will send them to you again. And so they are gerrymandering the poll, they are rigging the poll. That's their own problem. But when we go out in the places where we are working, we see that people respond to us. Now, also, the media is your choice, what you want to do. If you didn't call me now, I wouldn't be here. And if you decided to spend this time talking about G5, G1, G3, and who's abusing who, and whose certificate is missing, who was a drug dealer before, and who took money to Pandora and all of that, if those are the things you are talking about, then that's what we'll be trading. But we are going to communities, and we are there, and we are working within our community. We also know the INEC guideline, which many are breaching with impunity. In a presidential campaign, you can't spend more than 5 billion. And if you work over 6 months, and with all the people working for you, there's a limit to which you can spend if you had the money. And we also decided not to take money from those people who are the beneficiaries or even the instigators of the problems you have been asking me since we started. So we decided to make our own things moderate. Now, with respect to MKO Abiola, Chief MKO Abiola was an icon of the party. I think is the greatest achievement of the party so far, and he gave us the freest and fairest election. That's why I have June 12 a public holiday. But Abiola's father was not in politics. His father was not in the SDP. So we don't expect his children to be in the SDP. It's not a family business. But there are enough people in the family who are associated with us. Some of the wives are with us. And PRP, where the son is, it's not too far away from us either. We have a good relationship with the PRP. So long and short of this is that my children at the SDP will not expect them to come and inherit the SDP after me. It's an ideological party. The SDP was created 1989. Abiola was not even the first person to run on it. Yar'Adua ran on it. Olufala ran on it before they were banned. So the party was created in 1989, December 1. So the only person who can claim ownership is President Ibrahim Babangida. He was the one who created the party. So maybe if he's dissociating himself from the party, then you can complain that you are the one who created a little to the left and a little to the right. The one by the right has died. The one by the left is still there. So what's your attitude to that? But on a serious note, a political party is supposed to be owned by the people, not an individual or their family. But what we are trying to do here is this. We are doing very well where the issues pertain to the kind of question you're asking me. But where the issues pertain to other things is the turn of my zone, is the turn of my religion. You are crazier than me, I'm crazier than you, or who's spending money, who has more governors. We don't feature in those things. And where the emphasis on those things, we're not going to do well. So what we are trying to do is to change the topic. You could see that anywhere I go for media interview, I try to change the topic from these inanities to more relevant things that have to do with how do we balance the budget? How do we eradicate poverty? How do we ensure that we keep our communities secure? How do we sustain the cost of governance relative to the productivity of the country? How do we get our people to come out and vote? So where these issues are, we win by landslide. So on election day, this is the trick. On election day, if the voters are going to vote with their religion in mind, with their ethnicity in mind, with the mind that they can sell their vote, or with the mind that, or these other issues, then we will not do well. But if they are going there saying, I'm going to vote for somebody who will eradicate poverty, I'm going to vote for somebody who would address insecurity, I want to have affordable housing, I want to have full employment, I want to have a government that is accountable, that's based on truth and justice, they will have us in mind. We've done our polling. Where it is issue-based, we win. Where it is not issue-based, because we are not joining them in all these other traditional arguments that they have, we decided that we're not going to do that. And the people are collecting huge amount of money from highly interested persons in the status quo, who are giving a lot of money to them to organize big rallies and all of that. So not money, imagine from the rubric of the party. You know, we in our party, we fight each other when we try to do our budget because our money is from within. We struggle. So we bring a plan, we say it's too expensive, find an alternative. But those who are sitting down, who have constituted a board of fund collectors, they go to different people who are collecting subsidy money, people who are not paying their taxes, people who are collecting waivers. So they go to them, they go to all these big people's houses and collect big amount of money, they share it among themselves. So when there's too much money enter to their state branches, they start suspending each other, they start setting each other up, they start collapsing. So, but we decided, we are not saying that there's no room for status quo politics. What we are saying is that we are not going to join it. And that the journey we are pursuing, you will see that in the end, Nigerians will come to our side. As long as we don't disappear and we don't dissipate and we don't say, if you can't beat them in doing wrong things, go and join them. We will not. We will just consistently let you know that ethnicity, religion, politics of money, politics of brinkmanship, look, there are about 25 rabble-rousers in every election, and they don't die, they don't go anywhere. So people struggle to hire them, and they put them on TV shows, and they abuse the hell out of everybody. They raise scandal. So they use this one to entertain people and distract people. We decided we will not go along that line. We will make our case, and we will make our case in our communities. We will not give up. We will not join them. We will make sure that we keep doing that, and in the end, we will be able to win on issues. Because politics of issues are what lead to governance based on issues. The politics of bribery, personality, you will see that in the course of this interview, I will answer all your questions. Some other person will not answer your question, but they will send paid adverts, like 50 to you every 30 seconds. They come back and keep repeating the lies. We won't do that. So it's now left to the people, and we know where the people are. The people are in their communities, facing issues that we are raising, so they believe us, because these issues they are the exhibit one of the issues that we raise. They also know that we have solutions to them. And there is the consensus that it is what SDP is talking about now, that they are the governing issues in the country. But in order to answer us without answering to the issues, they will say, how many governors on your side? Why do I need a governor on my side? I need the people on my side. I need people to vote for a platform that can address issue of poverty. And how many countries in the world have a doctor, a PhD, doing a radio show? We have talents everywhere in the country. But you will see that despite your qualification, despite your experience, you will think twice before you can drive to your hometown. So what's the wisdom in that? You can't go home because of insecurity. You can't go because of lack of road infrastructure. You get home, you have to carry a mobile generator with you to the place. So we want to address those issues. Whatever problems we have as the Social Democratic Party, they approximate the neglect of people's participation in governance. And once people are empowered, and there are two ways to empower the people. One, you empower them by giving them this PVC, which INEC decides who to give, who not to give. Second, you also empower them by knowing the issues, because having no PVC is very bad. But what is worse is having PVC and not knowing the issues. So we are trying to empower the people to know the issues so that they vote for or against the issue. So in our election, we hope to win. But if we don't win, for example, we ask, on what issues do people vote against our candidates? On what issues? What did we say wrong? What did we do wrong? What are the issues? Will we not balance the budget? Do we have a manifesto that we cannot sustain, that cannot explain? Or are people not listening at all to manifesto? So what are the issues?
Well, Prince Adebayo, we have very limited time, but if you can keep the responses a bit short. I saw earlier on his hand up, Marcelo Keke.
Hello?
Oh, okay, somebody is calling in. Yes, please, your name, your location, and if you could reduce the volume of your radio. Yes.
Doctor, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Oh, it's afternoon now.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, dear guest, please.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Chief Ikechukwu Okafo. Today, being in that job, I'm very, very happy today. I don't know why. Hearing from Prince Adebayo. I first heard about him the day he came for the NDA this thing with other persons. He spoke about oil theft. I wonder how we know the oil theft. As soon as you say that, I started hearing of that often about oil theft. I'm too happy. He spoke about the police. Institutionalizing the police. The police is not for one person. This is an excellent man, that man. I don't know if he talk, I would want the whole Nigeria to hear him at once. I would want to know why he's not going to win this election. Look at where he's talking. You can't say police for government. Okay, he spoke about Sowolu. How can Sowolu be jumping to Abuja? Simple something. What has he done over the killing of Andrew Young, killing somebody, the Lagos driver? This is selective judgment and justice because he's a lawyer. People killed that girl. Took the life for her, and nothing has been done because the Lagos state driver. And then now that he's already able to see police IG. What they have to do with police IG when the thing was committed in Lagos, said by Prince Adebayo, which is a great lawyer. What are we talking? This is injustice. They're not doing something that will make people to be happy. They don't do the one they like and the one they don't like. It's not like that. This must go in uniform. This must go well. There must be accuracy in governance. The man has spoken well. I wish that people hear him as I had him now. So what do we waste time in voting another person when such man is there? Thank you very much, Ruben, for your decision.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Okafo. Well, that's the comment of an admirer, Prince Adebayo. And then we also have this comment from Dayo in Fagba, in Lagos here. He says, good afternoon, sirs. Compliments of the season. The police shooting of the female lawyer is unfortunate and intentional. It was said that she was pregnant. This is the failure of federal and state governments. The NSAS should be a case study to them. But they don't learn. They recruit criminals and low-grade minds without mental and psychological evaluation, even with low qualifications. And they are not well-funded or catered for by their bosses. Check out their stations and barracks, which look like refuse dump areas, or like their bosses' offices. This is unfortunate, and this is the same method they use to vote these low-grade minds, hypocrites of hypocrite rulers into power. Except we vote the right people into power in 2023, nothing will happen. Dayo from Fagba. And then, of course, I have so many messages via Zoom. This one is from Comrade Zaka. He says, congratulations in advance, Prince Adebayo. Considering this your bright ideas that can bring the Nigerian economy, just a moment, out of the woods, are you ready for any possible merger so that Nigeria and Nigerians can benefit from the eventual dividends of your bright ideas and knowledge? Okay? That's the commentator there making a pointed question. Are you prepared to merge with another political party?
Well, the issue of merging or collaborating, I've always said it. If you are collaborating on ideas, there is a difference between coalition so that you can help your people and conspiracy to grab power. What brought APC in 2015 was a conspiracy to grab power. People who don't like each other, who don't agree, who don't care, just come together, let's grab the power. I don't want to be part of that. But if you are going to collaborate to assist the people, you must agree on what you want to do. And our system is not a parliamentary system. Presidency is not divisible. The moment you make somebody president, it's a mini god. If you are not careful, you'll be filling form before you see the person. So you have to be sure that you know what you are doing. You just dump you in one place as a minister of something. So you'll be explaining failure away for the rest of your career. So you will see many bright people in the country who went and joined the wrong people. They themselves, out of shame now, they even worsen their own case. They are now the one propagating the status quo and explaining away absurdities and atrocities. So what we want to make sure is that you first raise the issues. If you do any alliance based on principle, not because I must be in government, I'm very comfortable outside government. The only reason to go to government is to make changes. So what is the point in being in a coalition or whatever partnership, and you end up, they are lying to the people again, they are stealing the money again, they are diverting the money, they are stealing crude oil, they are diverting taxation money, they are doing all the nonsense. Will I be in a government, for example, where a policeman will kill a civilian, and I will still continue that government if the Minister of Police Affairs does not resign or the IG is not removed? So those are the issues. You think twice before you go and join the wrong gang. If there's anybody who knows how government works, they should call Dr. Abati, and he was inside the shrine for some time. So you know that place is not a place where it's not simple unless you are consequential and you are able to have a great influence on decision making. Otherwise, they will make the decision while you are in your office. You will read of it for the first time in the papers, and you'll be asked to come and explain it. And because of esprit de corps or collective responsibility, you will look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I lost my mind? I don't want to be in that kind of situation.
Okay, I saw Marcelo Keke's hand up in the chat room. If he's still there, please, the people at the back end should allow him to make his comment. I see someone here saying, great one, watching from Gombe State. Please, I need the recorded version of this program. But someone else has also responded saying that the program will be loaded on YouTube. But in any case, here in the studio, we will also make that available. But I also saw a comment from a certain Mr. Morris Iwu. I'm trying to locate that. So many comments here. Mr. Morris Iwu's comment.
I am on.
Oh, who is that? That's Marcelo Keke. Please go ahead. Yes.
Yes. Marcelo Keke is on. I had a network challenge somehow, but I'm back. I want to start by commending the presidential candidate of SDP, Prince Adewole, Adebayo.
Thank you.
From your presentation, especially with respect to the issues that pertain to the economy, you have shown a lot of grasp of the economy. Even though you are a barrister, I really love that. Especially when it came to the issue of revenue generation. how to tackle the revenue challenge in this country and this economy, because it's a major issue. You address this in such a way that you show the grasp of the issues involved and how to resolve them. My question will now be like this: you are exactly 50 years. I want to believe I'm right. You're exactly 50 years, and this is the first time people like me, are hearing about you, in the Nigerian political space. I don't know whether you have any experience whatsoever politically, except your exposure as a student unionist that was mentioned when your profile was being read. So what gives you the impression that you have what it takes, in terms of political experience and exposure, to handle a country so complex and so big as Nigeria? Let me stop there. Thank you.
Okay. Now, handling a complex decision system is not a problem. Nigeria's problem is not that it's complex. Leader is not supposed to be a simpleton, supposed to be able to handle complex things. The problem in Nigeria is that it's complicated. It's not that it's complex. The complexity can be dealt with. The issues are there. A government has to first secure the country, form a government by bringing all the talents from different parts of the country and form a united federal government, and then assign ministers and permanent secretaries and directors in the areas where they have talent, put a mechanism in place to govern them through the Chief of Staff and the SDF, and to coordinate the cabinet office well. Then you make sure that you account for the revenue of the government and you expand the revenue base by way of using projections, and that you have a monitoring system. The Auditor General has to work, the Accountant General has to work, and auditors have to work in all the government departments. And then you have Minister of Justice, then you have legal officers. So it's not that difficult. It's not different from all the experiences I've had in running projects all over the world. The complication in Nigeria is that there are self-interested people running these things. So beforehand, certain no-go areas have been created. Certain ministries and budgets and budgetary items have been given out. So that's why you need an independent kind of politician to come in, who is coming in to say, look, let us run this thing in a fair way and a just way. Now, my lack of experience in bad things, in doing bad things, should be a plus. I've always been in politics. I joined the SDP in 1992. So as we speak today, I am 30 years old in the party. So that's not the issue. I was one of those people in Lupeju pasting posters for Abiola, going around. When the election was annulled, were the people on the street. People like Showore was also there. So it was not as if we are new in politics. We are only new in doing bad things, but we don't want to do bad things. We don't want to join those who move from party to party, or those who, for example, someone says, I've been a minister of power. It's just a minister of darkness, because he has not produced 5,000 megawatts, which should service Lagos only. If someone says, I'm minister of education, minister of illiteracy, what has he brought? So I want us to understand that many countries of the world, including the SDP, when they brought Abiola was an accountant. I'm a lawyer. He was a professional person. He had never been a councillor before. He's never been a commissioner or minister or anything, or governor. But he understood the issue, and the people voted for him. When Adewole was voted as Premier of Western Region, he had never been anything before. When Okpara was voted as Premier of Eastern Region, there had never been anything before. So the first job of Balewa was Prime Minister. He came as leader of government, and he was a school teacher before then. So we have had very good record with people who have never had office before. You will notice that it is like that. So let us understand that people like Murtala Mohammed and co, he was just a soldier. He was Minister of Communication. Within a short time, he became head of state. That's why we have Abuja today. That's why we have so many other things. He was only there for 6 months. So if you have a system that doesn't work, you cannot say only those who are experienced in the wreckage will come and help rescue you. They don't know how, even if they wanted to. You will see the people contesting against me. When they talk to each other, yes, I was the first to be with Yaradua. He met me there. He took money from custom. I took money from here. These are all the things that we're talking about. They are already died in the wood. So it's difficult to bend dry fish. So what we are trying to do is let us form a government that works. However, what are the risks that the people are taking? Because of the fact that we have not been in public service before, but our life has been in the open. That was why when I went to MBA, I was able to tell them, you have a character witness. I practiced law over 2 decades. People know me. So anybody who deals with me will know this is a person of integrity, it's a person of character, it's a person of solid content. And then the issues of the day will determine the leader of the day. So that's the mistake we have been making. In 1999, we went back to 1979. In 2015, we went back to 1984. You have to choose leaders that meet the challenge of the day. And the challenge of today is insecurity and poverty and the collapsing state infrastructure and the absence of governance. We have a lot of ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. So you need a leadership that is up to task. That is what you need. And the risk you are taking can be done through interview. By interacting and checking the background, you don't have to have been a governor of a failed state before you can run and be the president of Nigeria, and so on and so forth.
Okay, Prince Adebayo, I still see so many messages here, but I'll just take one, and then we'll end it on that note. And it's from Maurice Iwo. I only know one Maurice Iwo, Professor Maurice Iwo, Professor of Pharmacognosy. Maybe he's the same person. He says these candidates have successfully framed the issues for the 2023 election. Very illuminating, he says. So I don't know whether it's a namesake or the famous Professor Maurice Iwo that will know. But thank you for your comment, Maurice Iwo. And thank you very much.
If Nigeria's #1 herbalist is able to say it, I think people should take it seriously.
Anyway, thank you very much, Prince Adewole Adebayo. I'd like to thank you very much for agreeing to be on this program today. And I would also like to thank all the persons who called in and those who reach out to us via social media. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at ABATI1990 on Instagram and also at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, no need to worry. You can visit YouTube page City1051 to watch the entire show. And when you do so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave comments. I also noticed that a gentleman from Gombe said that he will also upload the entire conversation on YouTube. Thank you, the gentleman from Gombe, for offering to further load the conversation. And please don't forget to tune in next week at 12 noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is REUBEN Abati. The show was produced by Charles Flames, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwaseun Adetitun, Abiodun Odunton, Oluwatobiloba Odunlame, and Olawumi Ezekiel. Have a great weekend, and thank you very much for listening. See you again next weekend.
City Talks with REUBEN Abati.